We're back with another pedalboard walkthrough demo thing. It's been a couple years since my last one, so I thought I'd show you what I'm using now, since a lot has changed. I can start with the board I'm using now. It is a board from Earfuzz Effects. They have a store on Reverb, and they make custom-sized flatboards that are very affordable. And the tier is from Fixed Pedalboards. They also make custom risers. This is the maglock version, so it just flips up and down magnetically. So I'm now using the Morningstar ML10X matrix loop switcher. It's their bypass looper that allows you to change the order of pedals and everything, and you can do parallel stuff and all sorts of cool stuff like that. I've also switched to dual Tonexes. I have both Tone Shepherd captures. I'm using the Mattress Clubbin and the Bad Cat. I'm also controlling the Morningstar ML10X with the MC6 MKii. So the first pedal in the chain is my Polytune Mini 3. This is acting as my tuner and my buffer. I normally don't like using the buffer inside of pedals, but this specific one meets the specs that I like in a buffer. It's actually, they put the Bonafide buffer, the TC Bonafide buffer inside this, so it's actually a 2-in-1. But I like buffers that have 1 meg on the input and then as close to 100 ohm on the output, which is basically like tricking your guitar into thinking it's plugging straight into an amp. So without further ado, here is the cleanish tone. So it's a little edge of breakup-y. I like setting it to a lot of people do, is the bridge pickup. It starts breaking up with my pick dynamics, and the middle and neck position clean up fairly quickly. And after Polytune, you go into the Jackson Bloom compressor. It's not the tone press and it's not Cali, but I like the features on it. I think they're really helpful. Really like the onboard EQ for switching guitars. The boost is really good, and I really like the different compressor settings. I mainly switch between blue and magenta. Or pink, whatever you want to call it. And then I also really like the dual compressor mode, or slide mode as it's come to be known. This is with the EQ and the compressor on. So in here it cleans up a little bit, it kind of tightens everything up. I have the EQ cutting some low end and then adding in a little bit of high end. Just because humbuckers tend to be a little bit darker than single coils. So after the compressor, we go straight into the ML10X, which is where we get to the drive section. I don't typically like stacking overdrives too much. I actually have 6 stages of gain, but what I've learned over the past couple years how to use different drives for different guitars to get different textures to fit in the mix differently. Each drive kind of affects different guitars in different ways. So I like to put my I like to go from highest gain to lowest gain as far as drive order. So my drive section goes the 1981 DRV, the green side of the Protien, and I actually have the Protien split up into 2 different loops so I can change the order of them. So the Lightspeed is in between the blue side and the green side. So it's DRV, green side of Protien, Lightspeed, then blue side Protien. Then it's Blooper, which we'll come back to in a second, and then Vertex boost. I'm using the Vertex boost as expression for volume, so it's doubling as a boost and a volume pedal. So my mini Dunlop is not actually in the audio signal of my signal chain at all. So we'll go through some drive sounds. I have the DRV set a little bit bright, just so it cuts through a little bit more. This is my highest stage of gain, so I'll use it for like not necessarily big leads, but higher stuff up the neck, just because it tends to thin out a little bit. Throw on some delay and reverb for it too. And then next is the green side of the Protien. I don't normally use the green side of the Protien with this guitar specifically because it's a little bit bassier and darker, but sometimes I'll use it with this guitar. Next is the Greer Lightspeed. That's kind of my main. That's kind of like my biggest used overdrive. It's like my big chorus sound, big drivey sound. So that's the one that's on most of the time for bigger parts. And then next is my other most used drive sound, which is the blue side of the Protien. I'll use this on the neck pickup, middle pick position, bridge pickup. So I said I sometimes stack drives. More often than not, it's the blue side of the Protien with the Lightspeed, just because they act really well together or react really well together. I know stacking is sometimes frowned upon, but I think if you do it in an efficient way to where you're not just compressing your sound as much, you can have you can have access to different textures and different ways of blending it in the mix. This is blue side of the Protien and Lightspeed. This is green side of the Protien into Lightspeed. And then this is probably one most people are familiar with, is green side of the Protien into blue side of the Protien, since that's how the pedal is made. I also have the option if I want to flip that, since they're independent loops, so I could put blue side into Protien, or blue side of the Protien into green side of the Protien. So you can hear my sound doesn't really get smaller, it actually gets bigger because I'm not putting I'm putting less compression on top of the compression that's already going on. So if you're going to stack overdrives, remember to stack responsibly. What I end up doing most of the time is using the bloom boost to hit the front end of each of the drives, with the exception of the DRV, since it's already compressed so much. So this is clean tone, bloom boost, and then I'll go through each drive. And then last is the Vertex boost, which I just use as a clean boost to make everything louder. And then, like I said before, I have Blooper, depending on what I'm doing with it. Sometimes I'll use it as a delay. Sometimes I'll actually do looping stuff with it, which is what I end up using it for more. It's what I end up using it most of the time for. But I have it before the volume pedal. That way I can loop something and not hear it and then I can fade in the loop. It's really cool because I ended up doing like a lot of um, playing live. There'll be like these speaking moments, so they need like a music bed kind of thing. So I can just loop a bunch of random stuff really quick and then have that loop going and then play whatever kind of progression I want on top of it. Then next, we have the Dark World by Chase Bliss Audio. I use this more of like a textural reverb. I like using the mod mode, I think it is. It does the Chase Bliss generation loss thing of the dying tape thing, where it just gets super lo-fi and distorted. Yeah, I'll use that for more like textural stuff, with big reverb, ambient things, and delay just to add a little something extra. Next is the Maxon AD-9. This slot kind of changes sometimes depending on what extra delay I use. I typically like having a dedicated analog, dark, murky kind of delay for like slapback and vibey sounds. And then after that, I have the warped vinyl from Chase Bliss. This is in my auxiliary spot. If I need an extra whatever effect, I can put it in there and not have to change the order. Which is also one of my favorite things about the ML10X is I can swap out pedals and fit them wherever I need to, and then go in and change the order without having to take the whole pedal board apart. Warp vinyl is on there more often than not because I use vibrato a lot, and my H9 does a bunch of different things. So if I'm ever in a spot where like I'm using the H9 for something else, and then I also would like vibrato, I can have that option. And then that's everything in the looper. So we come out of the ML10X and then into the first stereo pedal, which is the H9. This has been out for, I don't know however many years, but I just got one, so it's still new to me. And I'm still making different presets and everything. Right now I use it for chorus, vibrato. I think there's an extra delay in there, and then there's a tremolo in there, and a bunch of weird stuff I haven't gotten to yet, but that one kind of has like a little bit of a phaser thing to it, which is kind of cool. Then after the H9, we go into the Strymon Volante. This is like my main delay unit. I use it for eighth, dotted eighth, some series in parallel, panning with the heads, and then a big ambient wash kind of thing. Yeah, Volante is super great tape machine. I had a Timeline, a couple other pedals that I just used the tape setting on. I figured I would get something that does tape really well. My only complaint about it is that the stereo imaging with the modulation and everything isn't that super wide, even when you pan the head, so I ended up panning the heads a lot of the time. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a really good tape machine. So then after that, we go into my favorite pedal of all time, which is Mood by Chase Bassadio. My wife doesn't know anything about this stuff, like any of these pedal things, but she knows Mood is my favorite pedal. So I'd use slip mode 75% of the time, just because it's a fun, quirky thing, forward and reverse. And then I like using the reverb for like patty kind of sounds. then I'll sometimes use the other side, the looping side, to create like little pad type stuff. Then after after mood, we have cloudburst. I typically leave this on a lot of the time. I'll have it kind of set a little dark so it doesn't get in the way of my playing. And you've heard it a little bit throughout this video, but it does the cloud thing. I rarely use the ensemble mode unless I'm bored or need some other kind of texture thing to fill something out, but and then after that is Mercury 7. I just have this set up as a really bright, high modulation kind of thing for big swells. I'll sometimes stack the cloudburst into that just to add a little bit of cloud on top of it. That's basically everything. After the Mercury 7, we go left and right out into the two Tonexes. Then that goes out to a Goodwood Audio Longline, which I really like. There's something about the last thing my guitar saying being active just feels a little bit better to me. But it's a great unit. XLR out if you're going to the front of house, like with digital amps, or they have a unit, I think it's CRV or something like that, but you can simulate a radial SGI kind of thing. or you can just use the 1/4 inch out and go to amp if you want to. It's got a phase, ground, pad, and then sum, which is really cool. Forgot to mention all the cables on the board I made using Megami 2314 for the audio, and then I can't remember what the TRS cable is, but all the plugs are square plugs. This is all powered with a Strymon Zuma and then 2 Ohis. And I have a disaster area MIDI box somewhere in here. If you have any questions, let me know. I post a lot more on Instagram than I do here, so go check that out. And I'll see you in the next one.